The first shot didn't sound loud. It sounded final. Sergeant Ava Mitchell felt the air tear beside her face before the sound even reached her ears. Instinct took over. She dropped hard into the snow, rolling behind a frozen log as bullets ripped through the silence. Ambush, someone screamed over comms. Too late. Gunfire erupted from all sides. The forest, silent just seconds ago, was now alive with flashes, echoes, and chaos. Snow kicked into the air with every impact, turning the ground into a violent storm of white and black. Ava steadied her breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Her finger squeezed the trigger. One shot. A man dropped in the distance. She shifted position instantly. Second shot. Another target down. But it didn't matter. There were too many. Fall back, Lieutenant Harris shouted, his voice cutting through the noise. Ava turned toward him and froze. A burst of gunfire tore through his chest. Harris staggered backward, eyes wide in disbelief, before collapsing into the snow. His radio crackled uselessly beside him. No, no, Ava whispered, her chest tightening. But the battlefield didn't stop. It never did. Mitchell, move, Corporal Diaz shouted. She snapped out of it, shifting her position again as bullets slammed into the log she'd been hiding behind seconds earlier. I'm pinned, Diaz yelled. Ava scanned quickly. Found the source. 3 enemy shooters advancing from the left flank. She adjusted her scope. Breathe. One shot. First target dropped. Second shot. Another fell. The third dove for cover, but Diaz didn't waste the chance. He popped up and fired, finishing him. Got him, Diaz shouted. Relief lasted less than a second. A loud crack echoed. Diaz jerked violently. Then fell. Still. Ava's stomach dropped. One by one. They were being erased. Ghost 3, respond, she called into the comms. Static. Anyone copy? Nothing. The snow started falling harder now, thick flakes blurring her vision, swallowing the battlefield piece by piece. Bodies were already being covered, like they had never been there. Like her team had never existed. Ava clenched her jaw, forcing the emotion down. Not now. Feel later. Survive now. She checked her magazine. Almost empty. She reloaded quickly, her last full mag. That was it. No resupply. No backup. No extraction. She risked a quick glance over the log. And her blood ran cold. Figures were moving through the trees. Slow. Methodical. Surrounding her. They weren't rushing. They weren't panicking. They were closing the circle. They know, she whispered. They know I'm here. Her mind raced. Options. There were none. Run. Too exposed. Hide. Temporary. Fight. Impossible odds. Ava exhaled slowly, steadying her hands. Think. Think. Another shadow moved, closer this time. Boots crunching softly in the snow. One soldier. Then another. 10 meters away. 5. Ava raised her rifle, lining up the shot. Her finger tightened on the trigger. Then she stopped. Something felt off. They weren't scanning aggressively. They weren't expecting immediate contact. They think we're still a team, she realized. They don't know I'm alone. That changed everything. A dangerous idea formed instantly. Ava lowered her rifle slightly, her breathing slowing. If they believed multiple soldiers were still alive, she could use that. Confuse them. Divide them. Survive longer. Maybe escape. Ava slowly crawled backward, keeping low, moving deeper into the trees. Every movement precise, every sound controlled. The voices grew fainter behind her, but she knew they weren't leaving. They were spreading out. Hunting. Good. That meant they were unsure. And uncertainty was her only advantage. Ava reached a small ridge overlooking part of the forest. From here, she could see movement, shadows shifting between trees, communicating, repositioning. She adjusted her rifle, picked a target, waited, waited. Now, she fired. The soldier dropped instantly, before anyone could react. She moved. Vast. 10 meters to the right. New position. Fired again. Another down. Confusion erupted below. Shouts echoed in Russian. "They're flanking us," one voice yelled. Ava almost smiled. "Yeah," she whispered, "keep thinking that." She kept moving. Never staying still. Never predictable. Left-right fire relocate. Every shot calculated. Every second borrowed. But the forest was changing. The snowstorm was getting worse. Visibility dropping fast. Sound traveling strangely. And then, a distant rumble. Engines. Ava froze. No. Headlights pierced through the trees in the distance. Multiple vehicles. Coming fast. Her chest tightened. Reinforcements. A lot of them. They're locking it down, she realized. This wasn't a search anymore. This was containment. They weren't letting anything leave this forest, including her. Ava ducked lower, watching as lights spread out, forming a perimeter. Soldiers moved with purpose now, organized, controlled. Her time was running out. Vast. She checked her ammo again. Half a mag. That's all. Her breathing slowed again, but this time it wasn't calm. It was focus. Cold. Sharp. Her hand brushed against something inside her vest. She paused, then pulled it out. A small, secure data drive. Her eyes widened slightly. The mission intel. The real objective. Top secret. Critical. If this fell into enemy hands, everything they fought for tonight, everyone who died, it would mean nothing. Ava stared at it for a long second, then closed her fist around it tightly. This changes everything. This wasn't just survival anymore. This was responsibility. Duty. She looked out toward the forest again, then remembered something. From briefing. A fallback detail. Not officially assigned, but mentioned. A temporary command outpost. A few kilometers east. Heavily guarded, but equipped with communications. A chance to transmit the intel. A chance to make this mission count. Ava swallowed hard. To get there, she'd have to move through enemy-controlled territory. Alone. Outnumbered. Hunted. She looked back at the growing lights behind her, then forward into the dark, unknown forest. Two choices. Stay and die slowly, or move and risk everything. Ava stood up slowly, tightening her grip on the rifle. Her decision was already made. "They want to trap me," she said under her breath. Her eyes hardened. "Let's see if they can catch me first." She took one step forward, then stopped. A sound. Behind her. Close. Too close. Ava turned slowly. A figure stepped out from the trees. Rifle raised. Face visible now. Not Russian. Not one of the soldiers she'd seen before. Something about him felt different. Calculated. watching her, not hunting. Ava's finger tightened on the trigger. The man tilted his head slightly, almost curious. And then he spoke, in perfect English. "You're not supposed to be alive." Ava's heart skipped. Her grip tightened. "Who are you?" she demanded. The man didn't answer. He just smiled. The man didn't lower his weapon. But he didn't fire either. Snow drifted between them, soft and silent, completely at odds with the tension hanging in the air. Ava's finger rested on the trigger, steady but ready. "Who are you?" she repeated, sharper this time. The man studied her like she was something unexpected, something rare. "You're out of position, Sergeant," he said calmly, "and out of time." Her eyes narrowed. He knew her rank. That wasn't possible. "Answer the question," she snapped. Instead, he took a slow step back. "Not fear. Control." "You shouldn't be here," he said again, almost like a warning this time. Then, voices echoed through the trees behind him. Russian soldiers, close. Very close. The man glanced over his shoulder briefly, then back at Ava. A flicker of something passed through his expression. Not fear. Not urgency. Decision. When he looked back at her, that faint, unreadable smile returned. "Survive the next 10 minutes," he said quietly. A pause. "Then maybe you'll understand." Before Ava could react, he was gone. Vanished into the storm like he'd never been there. Ava stood frozen for half a second, her mind racing. Who was he? How did he know her? And why didn't he kill her? No time. The voices were getting louder. She dropped low, moving fast through the trees, putting distance between herself and the encounter. Her heartbeat picked up, not from fear, but from something worse. Confusion. This mission was already falling apart. And now, there was something else in the mix. Something she didn't understand. Ava slid behind a cluster of rocks, peeking out carefully. 3 Russian soldiers moved past her position, weapons ready, scanning aggressively. "They're tightening the net," she thought. She checked her rifle. 8 rounds left. That was it. She exhaled slowly. "Make them count." One of the soldiers stopped suddenly, raising his hand. The others froze. Ava tensed. Had they spotted her? The soldier stepped forward cautiously, toward her position. Closer. Closer. Ava adjusted her aim. Waited. Not yet. Not yet. The soldier moved past her cover. Now. 2 quick suppressed shots. Both targets dropped instantly. The third soldier turned, but Ava was already gone. She didn't wait to confirm. Didn't hesitate. Movement was survival. She sprinted low through the trees, weaving through shadows, using the storm as cover. But the forest wasn't empty anymore. Engines roared in the distance. Lights cut through the darkness like blades. And then, a sharp beam hit the ground just meters from her. Searchlights. "They're sweeping," she realized. Her pace slowed. Running blindly now would get her killed. She needed direction. Purpose. East. The command outpost. It was her only chance. Ava pulled out the small compass from her gear, shielding it from the wind. Adjusted her direction. And moved. Minutes passed like hours. Every step was calculated. Every sound analyzed. The storm grew stronger, but so did the enemy presence. More patrols. More vehicles. More voices. And then, gunfire. Not hers. Not nearby. But close enough. Ava stopped, crouching behind a fallen tree. Listened. Short bursts. Controlled. Not random. Someone else was engaging. Her grip tightened. Another survivor, she thought. Or something worse. She moved toward the sound, carefully, staying low. As she got closer, the scene came into view. 2 Russian soldiers down. Fresh. Still bleeding. And a third struggling on the ground. Ava raised her rifle. But froze. The injured soldier wasn't alone. Standing over him was the same man. The one from before. He fired once. Clean. Precise. The soldier went still. Ava's eyes narrowed. This wasn't coincidence anymore. She stepped out from cover, weapon raised. Don't move. The man didn't even flinch. Slowly he turned toward her. Again that calm expression. Like none of this mattered. You're making a habit of following me, he said. I should have taken the shot earlier, Ava replied coldly. He glanced at her rifle. Then back at her eyes. You still can. Ava stepped closer, tightening her aim. Who are you? A beat. The storm howled around them. I told you, he said quietly, you're asking the wrong question. Ava's patience snapped. Then give me the right one. For the first time, his expression shifted. Slightly. Ask why you're still alive. The words hit harder than she expected. Ava frowned. What does that mean? He stepped closer, just enough to test her reaction. She didn't lower her weapon. Good. He noticed. Your unit didn't walk into an ambush, he said. They were led into it. Ava's chest tightened. No, she said immediately, that's not possible. He tilted his head. Isn't it? Silence stretched between them. The storm filled the gap. Ava's mind raced. The precision of the attack. The speed. The coordination. Too perfect. Too planned. You're lying, she said, but there was hesitation now. The man watched her carefully. You already know I'm not. Before she could respond, a loud crack echoed nearby. Gunfire. Close. Multiple shooters. Both of them reacted instantly, dropping into cover as bullets tore through the trees around them. They're here, Ava said sharply. The man glanced in the direction of the incoming fire. Not just them, he replied. What? He didn't answer. Instead, he moved, fast, precise, taking down one of the advancing soldiers with a clean shot. Ava followed, firing at another. 2 down. But more kept coming. They're converging, she shouted. The man grabbed her arm suddenly, pulling her back behind thicker cover just as a burst of gunfire shredded the tree she had been leaning against. Still think you can win this head-on, he said. Ava yanked her arm free. I don't need your help. No, he said calmly. You need information. Another wave of bullets hit their position. Closer now. Tighter. They were being boxed in. Ava's breathing sharpened. Ammo low. Enemies increasing. No clear escape. Her options were collapsing fast. The man leaned closer, his voice low but steady. The outpost you're heading to, he said. Ava froze. How do you? It's a trap. Her heart skipped. That's where they want you to go. Ava shook her head. No, that's my extraction point. He looked at her for a long moment, then said something that changed everything. No, Sergeant. A pause. That's where this ends for you. Gunfire erupted again, louder, closer, overwhelming. Ava looked toward the east, then back at him. Conflict burned in her eyes. Trust him. or trust her mission. She made her choice. I'm going anyway. The man sighed, almost disappointed. Then you're exactly where they want you. Ava stepped back, raising her rifle again. Maybe. Her eyes hardened. But they're not ready for me. She turned and ran straight toward the outpost. Into the storm. Into the trap. The man watched her disappear into the snow. Then muttered quietly to himself. Or maybe they are. The storm got worse the closer Ava moved east. Wind howled through the trees, dragging snow across the ground like shifting smoke. Visibility dropped to almost nothing, but she didn't slow down. She couldn't. Every instinct in her body told her the man was right. This felt wrong. Too quiet. Too controlled. Too prepared. But turning back wasn't an option anymore. If there was even a chance to transmit the intel on that drive, if there was even a chance her team hadn't died for nothing, she had to take it. Ava pushed forward, boots crunching softly over frozen ground, her rifle steady despite the cold biting into her fingers. Then, lights, faint at first, then clearer. Through the storm. The outpost. She dropped low instantly, sliding behind a snow-covered ridge. From here she could see it. And her chest tightened. This isn't a temporary post, she whispered. It was bigger than expected. Way bigger. Floodlights lit the perimeter. Watchtowers stood at both ends. Armed guards patrolled in tight, disciplined patterns. Vehicles lined the outer edge, engines idling, ready to move at a second's notice. This wasn't just a command point. This was a controlled zone. Ava narrowed her eyes. He knew, she muttered. He knew this wasn't right. Her grip tightened on the rifle. But she didn't back off. Instead, she observed. Counted. Analyzed. 4 guards on rotation at the main gate. 2 snipers on elevated towers. Patrol cycles every 30 seconds. Tight. Professional. Not careless like earlier units. These weren't just soldiers. They were trained. Careful. Expecting something. Expecting her. Ava's heartbeat slowed, not from calm but from focus. If this was a trap, then she'd walk into it on her terms. Her eyes scanned the perimeter again. Then she saw it. A narrow service route along the far edge. Lightly guarded. Barely visible through the storm. That's my way in. She moved. Vast. Low. Silent. The snowstorm became her cover, her shield. She slipped down the ridge, keeping to shadows, timing her movements with the patrol rotations she had memorized. Step. Pause. Step. Breathe. A guard turned. She froze. Waited. The wind howled louder, masking her presence. The guard moved on. Ava continued. Closer now. 10 meters from the perimeter. 5. She dropped flat as a patrol passed just feet away from her. Voices in Russian. Laughing. Relaxed. They had no idea. Big mistake. The moment they passed, Ava slipped through the gap in the fencing, disappearing into the outpost like a ghost. Inside, everything felt off. Too organized. Too clean. No panic. No urgency. Even after the firefight in the forest. Ava crouched behind a stack of crates, scanning. Her instincts screamed at her. You're being watched. She slowly shifted her position, eyes moving constantly. Nothing. But the feeling didn't go away. Then, a voice. English. Clear. Close. Ava froze. She should be here by now, someone said. Her pulse spiked. They were talking about her. She moved closer, staying low, careful not to make a sound. The voice came from a nearby structure, a temporary command tent reinforced with metal plating. Another voice replied, "She'll come, they always do." Ava's jaw tightened. "They're expecting me," she realized. Not hopping, not guessing, expecting. Her mind raced. This wasn't just a trap. It was a setup. From the beginning. Her hand instinctively moved to the data drive in her vest. This is what they want. She glanced toward the communication tower nearby. That was her objective. But now, everything had changed. Before she could decide, a sudden movement behind her. Too fast. Too close. A hand grabbed her shoulder hard. Ava reacted instantly. She twisted, driving her elbow backward into the attacker's ribs. A grunt. She spun, bringing her rifle up. But the attacker knocked it aside. They clashed in silence. Brutal. Vast. Ava struck again, this time connecting with his jaw. He staggered. She followed through, slamming him into the ground. Snow scattered around them. She pinned him. And froze. The man beneath her wasn't Russian. Tactical gear. No markings. No insignia. No identity. Same as before. Her eyes widened slightly. "You," she whispered. Before she could react, he flipped her off balance, reversing the position in a split second. Now his forearm pressed against her throat, not choking, just controlling. "Still alive," he said calmly. Ava struggled but stopped. Not out of fear. Calculation. "You've been following me," she said through clenched teeth. "Observing," he corrected. "Why?" A pause. Then, "Because you weren't supposed to make it this far." Ava's eyes hardened. Then someone made a mistake. For the first time, a faint smirk appeared. "Yeah," he said quietly. "They did." Gunfire suddenly erupted in the distance. Shouts. Alarms. The outpost lit up instantly, red warning lights flashing through the storm. Ava's head snapped toward the noise. "What's happening?" she demanded. The man released her, standing up smoothly like none of this affected him. "Phase 2, he said. Her stomach dropped. "Phase what?" But he was already stepping back, disappearing into shadows again. Ava stood quickly, grabbing her rifle, heart pounding. Something bigger was unfolding. Something she wasn't part of. Or worse, something she was part of without knowing. The alarms grew louder. Guards rushed across the camp. Vehicles started moving. Everything shifting rapidly. Ava made a decision. No more waiting. No more guessing. She sprinted toward the communication tower. Bullets suddenly tore through the air. Too close. She dove behind cover as soldiers spotted her. Intruder. Gunfire erupted instantly. Ava returned fire, precise, controlled. One down. Two. She moved again, pushing forward despite the chaos. Closer to the tower. Closer to the truth. She reached the base of the structure, quickly pulling out the data drive. Her hands moved fast, plugging it into the terminal. The screen flickered. Files opened. Her eyes scanned rapidly. Then stopped. Her breath caught. No, that's not possible. The mission details. The ambush coordinates. Her team's route. All of it. Preloaded. Predicted. Expected. Her unit hadn't been discovered. They had been sent. Straight into it. Ava stepped back slowly, her mind struggling to process. Someone gave them everything. Footsteps approached behind her. Heavy. Multiple. She turned. Weapons raised. Surrounded. Russian soldiers closed in from all sides. No escape. No cover. No time. Ava tightened her grip on the rifle. If this was it, she wasn't going down easy. Then, a familiar voice cut through the chaos. Don't. Everything froze for a split second. The soldiers hesitated. Ava's eyes shifted and locked onto him. The man stepped forward from the shadows. Calm, untouched by the chaos. Like he belonged here. Like he controlled this. Ava's voice dropped. Cold. Who are you? He looked directly at her. And finally answered. You really want to know? A pause. Then, I'm the reason your team is dead. The words hit harder than any bullet. I'm the reason your team is dead. For a split second, the entire world went silent. No gunfire. No alarms. Just the sound of Ava Mitchell's heartbeat echoing in her ears. Her grip tightened on the rifle, knuckles turning white. You're lying, she said, but her voice lacked certainty. The man didn't move. Didn't blink. Didn't even raise his weapon. I don't need to lie, he replied calmly. Around them, Russian soldiers held their positions, weapons aimed, but none of them fired. They were waiting. For him. Ava noticed it instantly. They're taking orders from you, she realized. Not just working with him. Following him. Her eyes narrowed. You're not Russian. No, he said. Then who are you? She demanded. A long pause. Snow drifted between them, settling on shoulders, weapons, the frozen ground beneath their feet. Finally, he stepped closer. Not aggressive. Not cautious. Confident. Someone who fixes problems before they become disasters, he said. Ava's jaw tightened. My team wasn't a problem. No, he replied quietly. They were a risk. The words cut deep. What does that mean? She snapped. He studied her carefully, like deciding how much truth she could handle. Your mission wasn't reconnaissance, he said. It was exposure. Ava's breath slowed. The pieces were starting to align. The data drive, she whispered. He nodded once. Contains names, operations, people who aren't supposed to be seen. Ava's chest tightened. Then why not destroy it, she shot back. Why kill my team? Because, he said, his voice lowering slightly, you can't erase something that already exists in multiple places. Ava's eyes flickered. So you chose to eliminate the witnesses. Containment, he corrected. Her anger surged. You call that containment? That was an execution. He didn't deny it. Didn't react. That silence told her everything. Ava raised her rifle fully now, aiming straight at his chest. Then I guess I'm your last problem. For the first time, something shifted in his expression. Not fear. Respect. Exactly, he said. The soldiers around them tensed slightly. Waiting. Ava's finger hovered over the trigger. She could end it right now. One shot. Justice. Revenge. Closure. But her mind replayed everything. The ambush. The precision. The setup. Her team never had a chance. And this man, he wasn't just part of it. He was above it. If I kill you, she said slowly, someone else takes your place. He didn't respond. Because he knew she was right. Ava exhaled slowly, lowering the rifle just a fraction, but not completely. What is this? She asked. Who are you working for? He tilted his head slightly. You already know the answer. Ava's stomach dropped. No, she whispered. But deep down, she did. This wasn't just enemy territory. This wasn't just a foreign operation. This was something bigger. Something hidden behind flags, governments, and missions. Black operations, she said quietly. No oversight, no accountability. He nodded once. Now you're starting to understand. Ava felt the weight of it crash down on her. Her team hadn't just been ambushed. They had been sacrificed, used, disposed of. And she had survived. Not by luck, by design. Why me? She asked, her voice steady again. The man stepped closer. This time no one stopped him. Because you adapted, he said. You didn't panic, you didn't break. You turned the situation into an advantage. Ava's eyes hardened. I survived. He shook his head slightly. You proved something. A pause. Something valuable. Ava felt it now. The truth behind all of this. This wasn't just cleanup. This was selection. You're recruiting, she said. Not a question. A statement. The man didn't smile this time. But he didn't deny it either. Your world, he said, is built on rules that don't apply out here. He gestured around them, the soldiers, the chaos, the storm. Out here, only results matter. Ava's grip tightened again. My team mattered. They were necessary, he replied coldly. That did it. Ava raised her rifle again, fully this time. No, she said. They were people. Silent. Heavy. Final. The man looked at her for a long moment. Then nodded slightly. Fair enough. He stepped back. And suddenly, every weapon around her lowered. Ava blinked. Confused. What? She started. You've made your choice, he said. Ava didn't lower her rifle. I didn't choose anything. Yes, he replied. You did. A distant sound cut through the storm. Helicopter blades. Loud. Approaching fast. Ava's eyes snapped upward. Extraction. Real this time. The man followed her gaze. They're here for you, he said. She looked back at him. Why let me go? Another pause. Then, because if you were going to join us, he said, you would have lowered that weapon. Ava didn't move. Didn't blink. The helicopter roared overhead now, descending rapidly. Wind blasted snow in every direction. Chaos returned instantly. Soldiers moved back, clearing space, not stopping it, allowing it. Ava stepped backward slowly, never taking her eyes off him. Will I see you again? She asked. He gave a faint, almost unreadable expression. You won't see me, he said. A pause. But you'll feel the decisions we make. The helicopter touched down hard. Door open. Hands reaching out. Move, move. Ava hesitated for half a second. Then turned. And ran. She jumped inside as the helicopter lifted immediately, pulling her away from the frozen battlefield. Away from the truth. Or maybe, closer to it. Days later, Ava sat in a dim briefing room. Clean, quiet, controlled. Across from her, high-ranking officers reviewed reports like nothing unusual had happened. Mission failure due to unexpected enemy presence, one said. Casualties acknowledged. Ava stared at them. Cold. Silent. You knew, she said. The room went still. No one answered. That was her answer. She leaned back slowly, eyes hard. They were never meant to come back. Silence. Again. Final ending. Ava Mitchell survived, but not as the same soldier, because now she knew the truth. The battlefield wasn't just out there. It was everywhere. Hidden, controlled, decided by people no one ever sees. As she walked out of the room, her phone vibrated. Unknown number. One message. You passed. Ava stopped. Read it again. Then slowly looked up. Her expression didn't change, but something inside her had.